All right, so we are live and we're going to be talking about Amazon Japan. So thinking about going to the land of the rising sun, but you're not really sure. The letters look completely different. Everything about it is just a lot different than what you're probably used to. So if that's the case, you're in the right place because I'm excited that we've got Ritu Java from PPC Ninja, who is also a ninja at understanding Amazon in Japan. So we'll get to Ritu here in just a second, but we're going to be talking about Amazon Japan and how you can do that. And so I've gotten to know a lot about selling on Amazon internationally, but Japan has always been one of those that I haven't quite figured out yet. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say and how folks can utilize Japan. So I'm going to do a couple of administrative back-end things, but while we're in the middle of that, Ritu, do you mind just sharing with yourself just your quick elevator pitch? Who are you? And people might know you about PPC, but how do you know about Japan?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone. So I am, the CEO of PPC Ninja, and as a lot of you know, we are a software and service provider in the Amazon advertising space. Me personally, I have a connection with Japan because I used to live there. In fact, I lived there for not one, not two, but 17 years.
Oh, wow.
I lived in Tokyo for 17 years, and obviously I know the language. I can speak, read, and write Japanese. And right now I'm in Canada because I've been living here for the past 5 years. Before that, I spent about 2 years in the US. So I'm clearly no longer in Japan, but the connections with Japan are still there. I'm still a permanent resident of Japan.
Wait, you're a permanent resident of Japan?
I am.
Okay, wow. And when were you last living there?
7 years ago.
So, okay, got it.
Yeah,
So
you can do that. You can do that.
got it.
Most of
You're
the
very multifaceted
yeah,
in international stuff.
it's true because I'm also a permanent resident of Canada. So I have two permanent residency and one citizenship of India. So I'm like from
Hmm.
all over the place.
Got it.
um,
And you lived in the US for a while too.
for 2 years, yeah, I lived in the US for 2 years. I did a degree in data science there, and that's how I kind of got into the Amazon advertising space. With a large Amazon brand, I was working with them, and that's kind of when I kind of got into Amazon advertising and Amazon in general. So it's been 6 years since I started touching Amazon. But before that, I used to be an Etsy seller myself. I used to sell jewelry on Etsy. This was handmade jewelry that I personally designed and created and packaged and marketed and advertised myself. So it goes
And
back,
this was
yeah,
which countries?
Japan. Well, I was in Japan at the time when I was doing my Etsy business, but I was selling to the US. And you can understand shipping costs aren't the most favorable
It's
for
probably not inexpensive shipping from
yeah,
Japan to the
small,
US.
absolutely. So the small and light package sizes, despite the size and everything, it was still expensive. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to not, do that anymore because it was just exorbitant. I stopped that business. But I learned so much from it, and nothing goes waste in life. Like every experience has a purpose and a meaning, if you want it to have a purpose and a meaning. And it did for me because I learned all about e-commerce there, and I continue to learn every day. Especially with all the great content that's out there, especially the type of content that Kevin puts up with e-commerce, maximizing e-commerce, and
Wait, who?
love to grow. Oh, where's your logo?
Wait, who puts out this stuff?
Where's that? Yeah, so I'm just excited to be here and share about Amazon Japan because we have worked with some of the aggregators in the space, help them localize their listings and stuff to Japan. Our software supports Japan, so we are kind of in that space as well. And then we do get requests for things like strategy sessions for Japan, or campaign management, things like that, because it's in another language and people want to succeed in Japan. Because it's such a big market. So it's kind of there's not a ton of people doing Japan, but there are a few people that are interested. So I'm happy to kind of share whatever I know from being in the space and having touched Amazon Japan so closely.
Got it. Yeah. So I'm excited for this. So I had tried Japan, and when I sold out, I stopped. But we can get more into that later as to I think some of the reasons why. I don't think it was set up well. Um, and also I think some of the issues were the products that I were selling were probably not culturally relevant to Japan. So we can
Mm.
get into some of what might be more Japan centered, but I'm
Yeah.
imagining there's probably nowhere near the competition there is even in Canada or the UK,
Right.
for example.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting that, even if you kind of do a random search on Japan for your own product, you'll be surprised you'll see mostly your product. Like it's not even that people are
Mm.
bidding on your branded keyword. So the space is kind of wide open if you've got the smarts to do it. Like
Okay.
you
Now
can.
you mean you're like if you're selling in Japan FBA, or you mean like some of these Amazon international programs they have where they ship your product from the US?
Yeah, I mean, the ship your products from the US might have a lower conversion rate because of shipping times and all those
Oh
other
yeah, definitely.
things. Yeah, the cost, etc. But yeah, if you have an FBA and you have a brand established in Japan, those, we do notice that brand defense is much easier because you don't have a ton of competitors, you know, kind of going at you with aggressive bidding on your keywords or on your products. So, which is why when you maybe do a search on your own brand in Japan, if you're selling there, then you'll probably see a pretty clean list, unless you have just one product, in which case, obviously, Amazon has to fill up that page with other stuff. Um, Brands will find it slightly easier only because the tactics haven't been fully explored. That's probably the only thing. Once they are, then you'll be in the same situation that the US or Canada or UK are in right now with severe competition, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All
Yeah.
right, so I have a lot of questions, and I know you put
Yeah.
together some learning points for
Hmm.
folks.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are watching this, just know if you've been on some of my live streams before, I do like to reward folks who participate, and so I just want to make sure, like, is this thing on? So, do you mind, folks that are watching, if you can hear us? Just let us know in the comments. Yeah, I can hear you. Click the little thumbs up, whatever the case is, because we just want to know like we're not talking into an empty room. There's there's plenty of folks joining us on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, but I just want to make sure folks can hear us. And so Ryan P says hello. So Ryan, thank you for jumping in and saving the day to let us know that you can hear us. So Ryan, if you don't mind, email Kevin at maximizingecommerce.com, and I will give you both the PPC Mastery Summit and the Convert More Click Summit from this year, which Ritu was a speaker at both. And so you can check out Ritu's presentation on both summits, as well as a whole bunch of other uh, content. So Karen says, yes, can hear. Thank you as well. Stick around. This will not be the only giveaway I'll do. Allison also says, yep, can hear you. So thank you, Allison. So thank you, Karen and Allison, for making us feel better that it can be heard. It can be heard. Um, and Mary also says, I can hear. So, Mary, Allison, Karen, and Ryan, thank you all for that. And so, and sometimes it may seem silly, like it seems like kind of in trying to get engagement, but it's for real. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had technical glitches, even though these like platforms, like they invest millions into these streaming things. And we've got like, a really good program which we're using to stream out, but sometimes stuff just doesn't work. Like it just all of a sudden some microphone won't connect, and so it happens. And so thank you folks for that. So all right, so enough of me whining about the microphone issues. Let's get into, I know you put together a slide deck for folks,
Yeah.
and then so folks, you will have the option to ask questions. So if you have any questions that come up along the way, feel free to drop them into the chat, whether on YouTube or Facebook, and we will get to those. So
Yeah.
I will, with that, I'll let Ritu jump in and share with us.
Yeah. So the reason why I put together a slide deck, even though this is an Ask Me Anything kind of session, is because you might have a question that gets triggered from the stuff that I'm going to show you, and it's basically just our experiences with what we've seen in Japan and what what we've observed with regards to the culture, the nuances, and all that good stuff. So let me share my screen here, and we can get started.
Oh, I think I have to add it.
You have to
So
add it. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Cool. Awesome. So let me start this off by asking the question of why Amazon Japan. And I know Kevin just mentioned that he sold out. Kevin, I'm curious to know whether you sold out because you had a very successful launch, or you pushed it to UL, or what was the reason why you kind of sold out there.
yes, so it took about 2 years to sell out. I'll just say that. And so some of it is on the front end. I don't think it was the right products for Japan at the time. Maybe this isn't the case now, but at the time, the Jungle Scouts and the Helium 10s of the world didn't work for Japan. And Amazon translated my listings. And let's just say someone from that team um, specifically said the translations weren't working out as well as they had hoped. And that was almost verbatim his words.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the machine translations are pretty bad, and you can get, in a situation where you lose trust, and so there's a chance that that might have been the reason uh,
Mm-hmm.
for that sort of stuff to happen. But any case, so some of the reasons why you do want to sell on Japan because of the opportunity is listed on the screen. So Japan is a pretty mature Amazon marketplace. Believe it or not, it's been around for 10 plus years. FBA has been around for 10 years. You might think, oh, it's new, but it's not. 71% of Japanese shoppers make purchases online, which is kind of crazy. It's pretty high. Despite the fact that Japan is an aging population, and there's
Mm-hmm.
significant number of people above the age of 65, yet 71% of Japanese consumers do make purchases online.
Oh,
And
wow.
then, yeah, isn't it cool? So you've got a primed marketplace there where people are already bought into the idea of just clicking a few buttons and having something get delivered to them. Whereas in some other marketplaces, it took a while. Like I know that COVID made it easier for some of the European countries where there was no concept of like going online and making purchases. They were kind of forced to do that, and a lot of that happened in Japan as well, and it became kind of the reason for even greater acceptance of the online marketplaces. So in addition to that, you guys probably also know that Japan is very tech savvy, right? They are
Mm.
into technology, and they use smartphones. In fact, smartphones were adopted way faster than the US even. So 80% smartphone adoption compared to 69% right now in the US. So it's a lot, right? Most people do have a smartphone there. Um, the other thing, I wanted to mention is that, this curve that you can see here on the screen, it just shows the organic growth during the pandemic. So this is, starting from the beginning of the pandemic, things started going up and up and up. E-commerce really took a lift, and then it started to deteriorate a little bit around June of 2021. That's last year when things maybe started opening up just a little bit with the vaccines and everything. So online growth has definitely kind of come down, but still Amazon is getting something like 250 million monthly visitors, which is a lot. Yeah. And it is Amazon's fourth largest marketplace, just for context. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is like a debate whether Germany is the fourth or Japan is the fourth. Like those two kind of tie up for the third or fourth spot, right? So pretty big market, right? Very
Well, just a quick question on that. So this is jumping out to me, and I'm not sure where that graph came from, but
yeah,
I'm curious. There's a pretty wide gap between organic traffic and paid traffic,
yeah.
and I'm kind of curious uh, how that might be different than, say, like the U.S. marketplace. That the U.S. marketplace would have a higher proportion of paid traffic versus organic traffic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That I would be curious as well. Now, this is a chart that I pulled myself from SEM Rush. It's one of the
Hmm.
tools that are out there to just, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So that might be traffic to the site.
Yeah, it's just
Okay, got
traffic
it.
to the site. Yeah, this is just traffic to the site. It's not like users or whatever. This is just organic traffic and paid traffic. So just
Got
to
it.
give an idea of like how big this thing is and how it grew over time.
Hmm.
Now, Japan is, or sorry, Amazon is not the only marketplace, as you know, in Japan. Like in most other countries, Amazon is clearly the leader, right? In the US, you obviously mostly go to Amazon to make purchases, other than Walmart and some of the others. But in Japan, you actually have Rakuten, which has been around for longer than Amazon. This is their own kind of homegrown product. I mean, platform. So Rakuten has been around since 1997, and they have 350 million monthly visitors.
Mm.
However, if you look at their sales, it's almost the same as Japan or as Amazon. So during the pandemic, Amazon actually overtook Rakuten in terms of sales, and they're now roughly the same. So yeah, I would say the reason why someone would go to Rakuten versus Amazon is really now a personal choice. In addition to the fact that Rakuten has been long around long enough, and hence there is that brand loyalty to Rakuten.
Mm.
And there's a few different things that Rakuten does right, which is, they have this concept of a time sale. Time sales are 2 days in a month where practically the whole country just waits for that 2 day sales to make some purchases, right? And they announce it, widely, and everybody knows that, oh, Rakuten sales are going to be on this day and this day of the month. And so that's when people rush to the site, and before that they kind of just do their prep and so on, they do their research, and then they go rush to the site, and they buy things at heavy discounts. Now Amazon has imitated and kind of copied that model. So if you guys don't know, Amazon also has their own version of Rakuten's 2 day sale. They call it time sale. So their time sale is also, it's like a mini Prime Day every month. Every single month you have 2 days where things will, prices will just drop and everybody will go. In addition, Amazon also has this point system, and Japanese people just love points. They just love the idea of getting free points that they can trade for other products or other services on Amazon, right? So there's a bunch of different things that one can do with Amazon. Now, I just also want to introduce you to other marketplaces in Japan that are pretty popular as well. So the peer-to-peer marketplace in Japan is really big, right? It's auctions. Yahoo auctions have been existent since 1998. There's Mercari.
Yahoo's still around?
Oh yeah, it's big. It's the third biggest marketplace after
Mm.
these two guys, right? After Amazon, Rakuten, then you have Yahoo, and Yahoo has a few different, marketplaces. So one is the Yahoo auctions, which you see here. The other one is the Rakuma, which is, I think, it's one of those similar to eBay. It's one of those similar to eBay type of peer-to-peer kind of marketplaces where people can sell their own products, used products or even new products that they find from here and there. So there's a bit of that as well. So those are another kind of popular alternative to just buying on Amazon, right? So just something to note. And then there's different e-commerce sites for different demographics, right? The younger population has their own kind of go-to marketplaces like DMM, Zozo, ZozoTown, Wowma. There's a bunch of them, right? So you cannot expect everyone to be on Amazon, searching on Amazon. That's not the case. So, which is why, Kevin, you mentioned that maybe the product was not the right fit. I think that maybe the marketplace may also not have been the right fit, because if your product was geared to a different audience that doesn't live on Amazon, then you'll miss them, right? Then you will
Mhm.
only be able to target other people for whom your products may not be as relevant. So that's just another thing to note, that younger people will have their own kind of places. Here are some misconceptions about selling on Amazon Japan. First of all, people assume that their best sellers from the US or UK will work there, right? They
Mm.
won't.
My mistake.
Yeah, so that's the number one here on my list, because you do need a product to market fit analysis before you venture into Japan with any product. You want to make sure that your products are a good fit, given the fact that there's different demographics going to different platforms, and also, what is the acceptance of that type of product. And I'll get into a little bit of the cultural aspects of shopping as well on Amazon. The other misconception is that you're assuming that your images can be repurposed, or your bullet points, etc., can be repurposed as it is. Yes, they may be to a large extent. Your content is not going to change, but the way you present it, the way you write it, is going to be different. It's not the same. You can't just say, okay, translate it or machine translate it. That's the worst thing you can do for your listing, right? It's better to go through an agency that understands Amazon, who understands SEO in Japan, and who understands the language and the cultural nuances to do a really good job. And just a little plug here that PPC Ninja does offer these services. Even though we are a PPC company, we do PPC advertising and services, but we also kind of offer these sorts of services in case people are interested. The next thing is that there is a very high trust barrier. So you can imagine, in Japan, the whole country is kind of very homogeneous. So if you find something that is, taking off, let's say a small group of people has discovered something, you can be sure that within a few days or weeks, everybody will know about it, and everybody will just be scrambling for that. So, fads and virality, this happens, very prominently in Japan. Like, I used to see, when I used to live there for 17 years, I lived in Japan, I used to see things go viral, and it was usually some endorsement by a celebrity or something. Someone said something on TV, and boy, oh boy, the whole country is just running after that product, and they want it. Even things like vitamins and stuff, because they have a pretty high trust barrier. If a celebrity endorses you, if you have influencers saying this is the best thing on the planet, then your sales will skyrocket, right? So you need your product to be vetted, or it needs to have some sort of backing for it to really, really take off, right? Um, the other thing is PPC strategies. You might think that your PPC strategies in other markets will be applicable. Well, for the most part, a lot of PPC strategies will remain the same, but it cannot be simply replicated because the algorithm is a little bit different. And I'll explain why it's different. There's a few different scripts in Japan that will, throw you off. And I can just show those to you in just a bit. So here's one of the funny things about the Japanese language: there are no spaces between words. Like, if you look
Mm.
at this, it's just like blocks of like Chinese characters, some local characters, and maybe a comma here, which is actually a double
Wait,
dot.
some of that is Chinese?
Yes, Japanese is comprised of Chinese.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why people from China, when they go to Japan, they can read pretty much most of the stuff because they can read it, right? They may not be able to pronounce it because the pronunciation might be different, but so Chinese has more than 50,000 characters. These little things that you see here, these are little
Uh-huh.
visual drawings of what the thing is. Japan has adopted about 2,000 of those, and they're called the mandatory 2,000, that everybody goes through in school. They need to learn those 2,000 characters, Chinese characters. In addition, they have about 2 to 3,000 more that are reserved for like names and things like that. People's names also are in Chinese, like, although their pronunciation is different, it's Japanese, but it is completely, you know, taken from the Chinese script. So that's basically,
I never knew that. So
yeah.
basically, if I'm understanding this right, someone could look up one of the 2,000 mandatory Chinese words, and it corresponds to the same meaning
Yes,
in Japanese, but the word that you would pronounce might be different.
exactly. Yeah. So for example,
Huh.
this first word means country. The second one means in or inside. So this is kokunai, which basically means domestic, right? So these two characters, if you take them into Chinese, if I cut paste and put it into any Chinese newspaper, I will find this word. It means the same thing there. So yeah, so that's basically the overlap between Japanese and Chinese because of the cultural heritage. It's been kind of, the
Right.
countries have learned a lot from each other, have imbibed a lot of each other's culture, and language is one of the common threads between the two. Yeah.
But if someone in Japan read those first two words out
Yeah.
loud, and someone
Hmm.
in China read those first two words out loud, is it going to sound anything like?
some will sound the same, some will sound completely different, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know what this is called in Chinese, but I know I can read it. So the reading part of it would be the same, the pronunciation would be entirely different.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. So yeah, this just makes it easier for Chinese competitors to kind of go in and write anything they think is,
Ah, because they kind of already know the
they
language.
kind of already know the language, so they can just make a few tweaks and make it sound like it's Japanese, but someone who's native can sense that this is awkward Japanese.
Just
There.
like we can sense awkward English.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so, that awkwardness is also translated into the algorithm, right? So, because of the fact that there's no spaces between the words, how does the algorithm read this stuff, right? It might read ahead, how that read ahead machine learning that reads ahead and tries to make sense of what's been said, and then tries to make sense of it. That might fail in a few different ways, because each of these characters could also be a word in itself, or it could be in conjunction with another character. So there's a probability. I'm not saying 100% the same, in the case, but there's a
Hmm.
probability that the read aheads might read ahead and think the word cut off here, whereas the word might cut off here, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
a little bit of that, but at this point, Amazon's algorithm is fairly sophisticated to understand what is written, and they can. But the direct implication of that is, if you're looking at, let's say, a listing, and you want to make sure that your listing is not misunderstood by the algorithm, you actually want to intentionally put in spaces. Even though it looks awkward to Japanese people when they read it, they'll be like, why are there spaces here? There shouldn't be spaces here, right? And we're like, oh my God, why are there no spaces here? We should have
Right.
spaces
It's
here.
all one big run-on
It's the
sentence word.
opposite. Exactly. So, intentionally inserting spaces between words that you want to stand out is actually a tactic that a lot of people use. It's a lesser known thing, but a lot of people use. Whereas if you use complete machine translation, that won't be the case. They will just translate it just like a run-on sentence, word after word after word, and you might miss some of the algorithmic, nuances that come with
Hmm.
not being able to read ahead, or figure out what the word is saying, basically.
Hmm.
Then the other complex thing about Japan is that the language, there's four language scripts in Japan. So this is just a shot from one of the popular, cities that it's called the Electric Town of Japan, right? So Electric Town, because every shop there is either selling games or electronic parts or something DIY, make your own PC, make your own this and that, PCBs hanging around here, people on the streets with like vendors on the street sitting with their wares, selling in heaps. You can get like a heap of some sort of chip or whatever, some sort of product. So it's that kind of place. And as you can see here, you can find all the four scripts in the in their billboards, and also their kind of signage on their shops. So as you can see, this says Akihabara in English, right? Then it says gamers in English. Here's some more English, but then there's some Japanese here. There's some Japanese here. A few places you'll see the Chinese character. So they use those four languages in a mixed up way. It's all blended, and that's one of the interesting things about even your actual listing. So I think I can show you what those four scripts look like. So these are the four
Yeah.
scripts. So there's the Japanese script, which is hiragana. There's the kanji script, which is the Chinese script, which looks more complicated. It's got like intricate little things. And then you have the katakana, which is the foreign word script. And then you have the English alphabet, right? So there's um, four different scripts out there that can be mixed and matched. And so obviously, when you do your keyword research, you've got to make sure that you've covered and touched all these scripts. And if you just limit yourself to either kanji or hiragana, you might be missing out, right? So that's kind of the thing about that.
So,
Now here,
so what
yeah,
would be an example of katakana,
yeah.
the foreign word
Mhm.
script?
Yes, the foreign word script Starbucks. This is exactly
Oh,
what.
okay.
Yeah, so this is a listing from Starbucks. So this thing in green here, as you can see, this is the foreign words. Let me just hide this thing from here. Right now you can see it. So this thing in green here is reserved for foreign words. Like Starbucks is not an original Japanese word, so you can actually use the katakana script for describing it. So Starbucks, and then
Are those more letters or are those more words?
yeah, these are characters. So su, ta, ba, ku, su. So that's Starbucks in their own kind of.
Oh, okay. So it's like kind of a phonetic way of saying
It's a
Starbucks.
phonetic way of saying things. Yeah. So there's no Chinese characters involved here. It's just a phonetic way of saying it. Um, yeah, so this one says holiday blend,
Uh-huh.
holiday burendo. So that's basically translating this thing over here into katakana. And then this is one character, which means it's a count. It's a counter for how many Keurigs they have. So there's 72 here. So it just says
Uh-huh.
count 72. So that's in kanji. And then they also put in English, right? It says K cup Starbucks holiday blend, which maybe the actual thing, the product name. So they're describing that in the English, and that's fine. It's, you might think, oh, that's awkward. No, it's fine. Japanese people are fine with this kind of blend of different scripts in the same
Hmm.
place. And then here is some more Chinese characters that say this was basically it's a foreign brand, or sent from abroad kind of thing. That's what it means.
Got it.
Interestingly, this one doesn't even have one hiragana, which is fine. I mean, hiragana
Huh.
is, it serves a few different purposes. One, it serves to complete a Chinese character with the pronunciation, and it can also be used in place of the Chinese character altogether. So it can be used as by itself uh, to 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 simply phoneticize the Chinese word. So that's the script that is used for that sort of stuff. So if I was completely illiterate and I didn't know any kanji or Chinese, I could simply just use hiragana to spell out my words, and I'll be understood. However, you run into trouble when there's more than one words that read the same way, have the same pronunciation, and then you don't know which one it is unless you see the Chinese character. So that's kind of the complexity of the language. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
I enjoy kind of seeing
How
how
long did it take you to learn
a
Japanese?
long time because I yeah, the funny thing is I actually forced myself to learn it by setting up these goals and targets. I love to do that. So I used to apply for these exams that basically are for foreigners, and if you clear them you get this certificate that says you are level whatever passed. You've passed level, so it starts at 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I actually attempted the level 1 3 times. It used to happen only once a year. The exam was only once a year in December, and I passed level 1, which was the highest level that any foreigner could get. I passed that level, but I kept trying and trying, kept failing and trying. So it took me a long time to learn Japanese.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a very hard language. It's the second hardest, I think, after Chinese. Chinese is probably the hardest language in the world to learn. There's so many characters. Like I said in the beginning, 50,000 characters in the
Right.
Chinese, yeah, script, and growing because as you have more words, they create more and more characters for them.
Got
Yeah,
it. Got
yeah,
it. So yeah, this is fascinating. Okay. So
yeah.
so basically the algorithm is probably looking for people might be searching in all four?
Yes, exactly. So that's why when you do your keyword research, you've got to anticipate what might be the most popular way, and you put that into the title. Or you might want to say, okay, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone that is, searching in in this script or the other script.
Hmm.
You've got to do your keyword research so that you can actually do that. And I'm going to show some tools that you can use for Japan. I think it's the next slide or so. I'll just bring it up soon here. Um, so moving on to what kind of products sell on Amazon Japan. So here are some of the products. There's if you look at their daily deals on popular products, this is a list that you can look up yourself anytime. I'm sure this changes over time. You can look it up, and obviously electronics is the most popular, followed by video games in Japan. People just love video games. Then there's home and kitchen, and so on. Usually, what I've seen is that items under $50 tend to do well on Japan in Amazon Japan. The reason is that $50 is like throwaway price for most people, right? Under $50, they don't care so much about the trust barrier. They don't care so much about, okay, your listing may not be so polished and so on. So if you have those types of commodity items, they will still buy it from you, even though they know this is maybe a Chinese product, or it's just like one of those use and throw type of things. Toys and games tend to do well if they're under 5,000 yen. Anything that's cute or kawaii, as they call it, the kawaii genre is it sells a lot. Like there used to be when I was there, gosh, especially women, younger audiences, they accumulate a lot of trinkets or little things. Like they love these cute little pens that have something special on them, and they keep buying. Then they have things like stuff that they can hang on their backpacks, or like just stickers, or what are those, like those gosh, names not coming to me, those little coin badges, things like that.
Mm,
There's so many of those sorts of things that can get popular in Japan, but they can also die out very quickly. So fads come and go, that's there, but they will always want cutesy things always. Books, yes, they buy books, and I don't think any of our sellers are interested in that. But generally, people in Japan tend to associate Amazon with books because that's what the original kind of purpose was of Amazon. So, yeah, that's what they kind of look out for there. Some consumer traits here. There's, like I already mentioned, there's different demographics on Rakuten versus Amazon versus other like auction sites and so on, peer to peer, etc. The older generation still look at Amazon as a place to buy books, right? Younger generation have their own e-commerce channels, and Japanese people rely on ranking. Like if you can get into rankings of any sort, like on Amazon, if you have some sort of bestseller ranking or some sort of like
mhm.
yeah, some grouping that Amazon creates, or endorsement or reviews, those are very, very, very important. So reviews are super, super important in Japan. People read them. And then TV is a big influence on trust and perception. So if you want to kind of break into the Japanese market with an established brand, you might want to go the influencer route or the celebrity route, or maybe even TikTok and so on. So these are the things that Japanese consumers value. Should I just stop here and ask questions? I don't know. You tell me, Kevin, if this is valuable or. Um,
I think this is great. So, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to jump them in. Otherwise, we're just going to keep talking here.
yeah, we'll keep talking. If you have questions,
We'll definitely
yeah.
fill the time. So I did have a couple,
Okay,
at least people brought something up. So
awesome.
AMZ New Era says, great to hear about Amazon Japan. Glad this is helpful. And Allison had asked, will this be saved as a video and available on your channel? Yes. So this will be available where you can watch the replay at any time. So feel free to watch this. This is I'm learning a lot, and I've even sold in Japan. So not
Yeah,
well. I will admit that. So I wish I had known a lot of this before I had gone into Japan. So Karen
okay,
also said, yeah, the info is great. All new data for me. So yeah, this is super helpful. So I really appreciate you um, putting
cool.
this out there. So
Yeah,
I'll
awesome.
let you
Fun.
continue to
Yeah.
go with
Okay.
the what
Yeah.
you have.
Absolutely. Okay. So then, these are the things that Japanese consumers value the most, right? Convenience. They value convenience over everything else. Like, let me tell you, convenience stores in Japan, you can find them in on almost every street. Like, you can step out of your house, no matter where, how remote you are, and you can walk a couple of blocks and find a convenience store. A 7-Eleven, which I believe is a US company, but
Oh yeah,
somehow
yeah,
it
yeah.
is more popular in Japan than it is in the US.
Oh
So
wow.
we have 7-Eleven, then we have Lawson, and we have, gosh, there's so many, just hundreds of convenience stores, like competing for space on an already crowded kind of real estate there. But it's you can find convenience stores everywhere, so people are used to that right now. They have come to expect the bar to kind of win Japanese trust and so on is pretty high. Like you can't just go be sloppy there. You have to be high quality. You've got to come across as being trustworthy and so on, because they can sense it. They're used to convenience and quality and stuff like that. Speed, very important for them to get stuff quickly. So like Prime and FBA, that's really really important. So if you're selling in the US and Amazon is telling you, hey, you can go global and so on, maybe you can use that as a test for figuring out whether your products will or won't sell in Japan. But other than that, I wouldn't waste my time on that. Unfortunately, that's not something that people will wait weeks and weeks for, right? Timeliness is important. Trustworthiness, it has to come out in your copy, in your image, how you present yourself, and so on. Good deals, they love good deals. They love their points, right? I already mentioned Rakuten has time sales. Amazon has copied that. They also have time sales twice a month. Oh, sorry, 2 days in a month. So it's consecutive days. And they have their point system, which people can offer additional points. So you can run a coupon, you can run points, and you can participate in the time sales. So that would give
Mm.
you plenty of opportunity to cut into your profit margin. Just kidding. Okay.
But you could at least get the ball rolling, I would
Yes,
imagine. If you
that's
do
what I
these
meant.
deals, they
Yes,
will get you
you can get the
more organic sales in the long term.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So now let's talk about some of the not so popular topics, which is Japanese compliance and things like that. So
Yeah, this is where it starts getting a lot different
it
because
gets
like
tricky.
Canada and UK, for example, are
Mhm.
all based on like English common law. So it runs very similar to the US, as does Australia. The European Union countries that were never part of the UK, they're at least Euro influenced. So they all kind of operate the same. But Japan is very different. So definitely take notes here, folks.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, so Amazon has a few warehouses. Last I checked, there were four in four prefectures. Prefecture is like a state, right? They just call
Mm,
it prefectures. So there's four
that's a new
prefectures.
word to me too.
Yeah, prefectures are yeah. I wonder what. Yeah, so in Canada we call them provinces. In yeah, every country has their own way of
Right,
describing
right,
it.
right.
Right. So there's FBA warehouses in certain prefectures. So you basically need to be tax registered in those prefectures. That's the first step, right? So it just means that you create like a tax registration, and then you're good to send your goods into Amazon FBA, because they will pick wherever the goods go, right? You don't have any choice
Right.
in saying, yeah, it should go here or there. So that's why you should be registered in all the prefectures that Amazon has warehouses in, and be aware that they might be adding more, and so you'll have to at that point add more and get registered. But I think Amazon will let you know when that happens, so it's not that big of a deal.
So when I did this, now this was a while ago. Japan, they or the global selling team had at Amazon had said that Japan had a 2-year tax holiday for registrations when you first start. Is that still the case, or is that maybe not 100%
I
accurate?
don't think so. There's no tax holiday. In fact, now they have a limit of 10 million. Like if you're making more than 10 million yen, which is equal to $10,000, which is nothing, right? If you're going to make more than that, then you have to even file taxes in Japan. So,
Oh, you
if
mean income taxes?
well, this is consumption tax. Yes, you basically pay at the port at import. You need to pay consumption tax of 10% upon import, and
Oh, okay.
yes, and then you have to file taxes as a business there. So that would be in if your revenue is greater than 10 million, your
Is
business.
it a value added type tax where the consumption tax you pay at the border, would that be a credit on the consumption tax you
Yeah.
pay on your sales?
Yeah, exactly. So you
Oh, okay.
basically do a reconciliation of what you've already paid at import, because at import you're supposed to say what the price of the goods are going to be, but in reality you might be running discounts, you might be giving something off, and so on. So your actual, selling price might be lower or higher, whatever it is. You might have a price increase. So that kind of reconciliation happens at the end of the year through a tax filing. That's it. You don't have to pay extra at the end of the year. It's just you reconcile. If there's some differences, then you pay that up. It's not a whole lot.
Would they
So
give you a credit? Would they give you a check back if you
if you have
overpaid?
yes, that's
Okay,
the
so
whole
that's good.
idea. Is yeah. So it basically checks the consumption tax. Although this is so new that we don't have conclusive like evidence that that's the case, but in theory that
Got it. In
yeah, this is
theory, so you
yes,
may, and we're not providing tax advice, but you may
we're
want to
not.
think through, maybe
Mm-hmm.
be on the conservative side and balance out paying them more money in the long term than
Sort of,
vice
yeah,
versa, if that makes sense. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
again, I'm not even saying that that's a suggestion,
Correct. Yeah,
just
we're
food
not
for thought.
tax advisors at all. This is just, information based on how our clients are dealing with this stuff. So,
Got it.
importer of record, that's important. This is the person in Japan who will be receiving your shipments, paying consumption tax on your behalf, and then be answerable to customs. Not that the customs will reach out to them at all, maybe even they don't even need to, but if there is a problem, they require that importer of record to be a Japanese entity. So basically this allows you to not have your own entity in Japan, although if you want to you could start a business, but then it will get you into a whole lot of other kind of complexities. You probably don't want to do that. You probably just want
Hmm.
to look for an importer of record, and you can find them. These guys can be found, and also Amazon has this uh, service provider directory that you can look up, and maybe find people who are willing to do this for you. And they will charge a fee, obviously, right? They will charge a fee for providing this service, and they will be responsible for the things that I mentioned here. That you will send it your shipment to their address, which won't actually land in their warehouse or anything. It will just get directed to FBA. But on in terms of who's responsible, it would be their address, right?
They're kind of vouching for you as a local, whereas in a lot of
Yeah.
these other countries, you would be the importer of record yourself, or
Hmm.
your company would be.
Yes.
Whereas here, you have to have an inside company do it, and there's different. Not to overcomplicate this, but I do remember there was like different kinds of importer of record. So depending on whether or not you had an ingestible product or something that might even touch the mouth, you
Oh,
might need a
that's
different
interesting. Yeah,
type of importer.
I don't know about the ingestible. I think that would be the thing to check with, when you start having that conversation.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you have companies that you would suggest? I've got one that I'd used in the past, but I've
yeah,
no
yeah.
alliance to them.
We also kind of have a few customers using these people, but I guess, like I said, the service provider network is as good. Like you can just go in,
Oh,
like
okay, that's true.
the
Yeah.
Amazon service provider network can give you access to uh, these people, and you should be able to reach out to them and ask more questions. That they're available to answer these sorts of
Hmm.
very complex things. And but yeah, just this is just a note that this is a step that is required to sell in Japan as FBA. Then, of course, you don't need a local bank. You can just use your US bank, and be that, just have things get wired to you, and that's it. You don't have anything else beyond that. Um,
Okay.
then there might be some additional duties based on your category. Some categories don't have import duties, so this is something you'll have to check. There's Japanese websites that have a list of all the different types of products and what kind of import duties, etc., you need to kind of pay upfront. The consumption tax that I mentioned here is generally 10% upon import. So what this is that it's saying that you're anticipating that your let's say your product is going to sell for $20. You've already anticipated that price, and you're saying 10% of that, you will just pay upfront at the time of import. And this kind of covers for their taxes, their consumption tax, which will be deducted or adjusted from the extra that you've already paid. Now, obviously, you might you might not sell through your inventory, in which case the consumption tax is sunk. But that's, I mean, the cost or risk of doing business, in Japan, and you probably won't go there unless you are ready to take those sorts of extra kind of risks, or those extra kind of investments that are essential to kind of do this. But if you're, like I said, if you're selling above 10 million, then there might be some adjustment that you can do at the end. This
Hmm.
has just been rolled out, like literally less than 6 months ago by
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
And
it is
that's 10 million yen,
yen, which is around $10,000. Is it?
about 10,000 US. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just do a conversion there and see.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, I may not be accurate on that number, but yeah, it's 10 million yen. Cool. And then, yeah, as like also already mentioned that this is these are some guidelines from their consumption tax, website. Consumption tax is like you have a national and you have a local, and then there's a total. Here's a standard, and here's a reduced. So there's some reduced ones based on, what type of market. For example, items subject to the reduced tax include food and drink, newspapers, etc. So there's a list there you can look up.
It's about 75,000. I looked it up.
Okay, all
So
right,
it's
cool.
but that could change because
That
it's
could
in
change.
yen, not
Hmm.
in dollars, and so that's a
Right,
fluctuating
right,
number.
right.
So
Yeah, exactly. All right. So then we're talking about localization now. I know we're almost out of time, but localization is kind of pretty big, right? So I want to ask you, you guys that are watching, this I want to show you what I want to basically ask you, what do you think this thing is that you see on the screen? Because there's different aspects of localization. There's the language aspect, the aesthetics, and then the culture and the values. What
hmm,
do you guys think this thing is? Any guesses? And feel free to answer in the comments.
some sort of fruit candy, maybe.
Fruit candy. Nope.
Is it sushi or like a bench to sit on or pillow?
Interesting. Yeah, no, none of them. None of the above. Oh, someone said fruit.
Someone said fruit.
Okay, it's not fruit.
It looks kind of fruity. I got to
It looks
back Karen up
fruity.
on that one.
Yeah. Well, let's give people another 5 seconds or so to answer.
Okay.
If anybody has any thoughts on what this thing is, and maybe no guesses. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is toilet paper.
That's toilet paper.
That is toilet paper.
Now, is it scented toilet paper or it just
I I don't know. It could be scented. Maybe that adds more. Oh, phone charger, Karen says. Well, this is toilet paper. So basically, it's toilet paper wrapped in this very nice kind of packaging. So it just shows how Japanese people absolutely love their packaging, the aesthetic of
mm,
how something looks. So this is the extent to which they will go to kind of just get something pleasing to the eye and
uh-huh.
high quality. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow, toilet paper. Yeah. So the reason why I shared this is because there's different sensibilities there. We would never wrap our toilet papers this nicely, but the Japanese people would do. So just knowing that this is some of the kind of things that you will need to pay attention to when you present your images and stuff. So when it comes to localization, Japanese people are extremely quality conscious. You want to make sure that your stuff looks good, your images look really amazing. Then they will read the fine print. Actually, they love manuals. It's surprising that fine print. Oh
Really?
my, they just love manuals.
Americans, we like to not read them.
I throw mine out. Like I get any product, I'm like, if this thing doesn't work without a manual, I don't need it. I just throw
Right,
the
exactly,
manual. I
exactly.
don't. But they will read the fine print, and I'll give you some examples of how adding more detail is better than adding less. Okay, so that's the one thing. Trust barrier is high, so you want to make sure your listings have like reviews and things like that. Not saying anything about breaking TOS. No, 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 no. We don't want to do that. But it'll start moving when you have enough reviews and good people endorsing it. If you sell products greater than $50, you might lose on conversion rate if your listing quality is not up to the
Mm.
mark, right? So that's your conversion rate
So
will
about
drop.
7,000 yen.
Yes, it's about 6,000 yen. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, cool. All right. So then just some examples. We're getting into some examples here. So this is a Japanese product. So it's I think the parent company is Asahi, and this is their listing. Can you see how detailed this is? Oh my goodness! Like they have so much text on an image, which we tend
Uh-huh.
to run away from, right? But their images. This is the type of image that will breed trust. People will look at it and say, "Oh, they gave so much thought into all the details. Like this is the stuff they
Hmm.
love." All
Interesting.
right. Yeah, and look at this. So this is listing number or the one, two, three, four, fifth place. It's doing a comparison. So it's like an infographic kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
How much calcium, how much magnesium, and so on it has. How much you need in a day, and some data, some facts. They love these trivia details, percentages, numbers. Oh my goodness, they love that sort of stuff. Oh my goodness, look at this. Like the
Oh
whole,
wow.
the back of their thing is actually image number 6. They
Oh,
want
that's the label.
the
Okay.
label, yeah, the
I guess
label.
that
They
kind of
want
makes
it.
sense.
That kind of makes sense. But most people I've
But still,
noticed,
it's a big
yeah,
label.
they take a screenshot or they take an image of the back of the thing with the curve. No, no, no. Here they will actually open it up and show you the actual label so that there is, this also breeds trust, right? This is what gives them all the details they need to know. Whether they read it or not, it doesn't matter. You have provided all the details. This is good. This is a good listing. Um, so actually, I wanted to compare this with another competitor. And if you can see here, this is a very popular brand here in the US. But look what they've done to their Japanese listing. This is selling in COJP. Their listing looks nothing like that one. Okay, first of all, it's all in English. Big no no. Why would you put everything in English? No effort made. There's very large font. You'd rather go small font than large font in Japan. You know, it's the opposite. You
Hmm.
want things to be detailed and packed. Now, obviously, you don't want to just stuff things in, but this stuff is all in English and it's a poor listing by all standards. This does not
Hmm.
meet any criteria. No, this is this one is still okay, the last one, but it's just, you know, just devoid of the stuff that makes a Japanese listing, which, as you can see here, looks like this, right? Really detailed, really closely. And they look at this, how they even do kind of studies and things like that, and they put those sorts of details also into the.
Forgive me. I'm missing the study.
Oh, you know, they have so they what they did was uh yeah, it's basically just,
Oh, it's just
yeah,
showing people
it's
like in
just
a
showing
lab.
people, yeah, yeah, it's giving you confidence because you know, this is the reason why we believe in our dear natura products, because they are, you know, extensively, you know, research and things like that. So that kind of element that, you know, really shows how reliable this product is important to Japanese people. They won't trust supplements for sure if it's not done well. um, cool. I'm going to skip this because we already talked about it. Here, we're going straight to tools for Amazon Japan. So, you know, our tool, PPC Ninja, we do support Japan for PPC. Here are some tools for keywords. You can use Jungle Scout and Helium 10. I've used both. I feel that Jungle Scout tends to be a little expensive, unfortunately, because they only allow you, for the lowest tier, they only allow you 3 searches a day, so there's some limitations and stuff like that. Helium 10 never used to have Japan, but they do now.
Oh, okay. So that's relatively new
Yeah,
now.
it's relatively new, but now you can actually do keyword. You can do Cerebro and things like that with Helium 10. Then I believe there's also Zongu, which I haven't used myself, but I know that some people have. Then there's you know, seller tools, etc., that you can kind of plug in and see uh, kind of you know, sales and search volume and things like that as well. Yeah, this is just a view from PPC Ninja tool where we give you discover keywords where, you know, if you're running an auto campaign, we basically tell you what kind of keywords were discovered and how you can add them to your products and so on. Last slide. This is just saying best practices for Japanese keywords. You want to mix and match alphabets, making sure that all 4 alphabets are used. So be prepared for 4x the number of keywords in your research.
Hmm.
Avoid kind of broad match for 2 character hiragana words, because they could, you know, match to anything weird, right? They, because broad matches can go in any direction, and here we're talking about characters that could be words by themselves also.
Hmm.
So instead, use phrase matches, but at least retains the phrase order. That kind of helps you get better results. Passing your keywords through brand analytics, doing a check before you send it off to a translator, using software for ongoing keyword discovery. and also adding newly discovered keywords with substantial conversions as exact match, and definitely keeping your campaign small, no more than 10 keywords, just like you're doing in the other market. So yeah, those are some of the, I mean, I can keep going on, but I think I should stop here. And where is the stop share? I'm just looking for the stop share.
Oh, I think I have to
Oh,
do that
you have
as
it? Okay.
the
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
host. Okay, yeah. So okay, this is great. So I learned a lot there. So folks, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Are you? Do we have you for a couple more minutes, or do you have a hard
Yes,
stop?
I'm
All
good.
right.
Yeah, I can be
All
on.
right. So if folks, if you have any questions, let us know. Someone did win earlier a prize, and I'll give away another prize. Maybe whoever I think is the best question, which would be completely subjective on my part. And so, and I reserve the right to have 100% of my decision which one wins. But I will be fair. I will be fair. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. This was good. So I had some questions, and I think you pretty much answered all of them. So we might not get a lot of questions because I think there's a lot to digest there. So, oh, this is a very good one. Uh, who would translate customer service communications for me? I speak no Japanese. Now, of course, if you're doing FBA, Amazon would do most of it, but you still get, depending on your product, a few questions here and there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, your customer service communication, the simple way of doing it is just using a machine translation for yourself and then back. That's one way of doing it. A lot of people have a full-time person on their team answering those questions, but you could also maybe go into the Philippines, because a lot of talent in the Philippines actually knows Japanese, because
Mm,
of the affinity between Japan and the Philippines. They've got a pretty tight connection. I personally know a lot of Filipinos who can speak Japanese pretty well, so you can get pretty affordable talent there. So that might be one way out for you, but you will definitely need to reply to customer tickets and stuff.
yeah, and if you get like one a month, you could probably just get away with, I would
Yeah,
imagine, Google
exactly.
Translate into English and then type
Yeah.
in your response and then
Hmm.
translate that back into Japanese.
Absolutely, yeah. You can do that for, and then you can also do this thing of providing both the English and the Japanese, so that a lot of Japanese people can read English, so they can, read both and get the
Oh,
response. So that might be one best practice for making sure that your message is communicated.
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
All right. So Mary asked, I may have missed this, but who does translations? That's also an excellent question. So
yeah. So
Amazon could do it for you, right?
they could, but like I said, they will do like a machine translation, which may not be the best, like for all the reasons we discussed. If your product needs to kind of shine with, high quality, you want to build trust, you want the conversion rates to be higher, then you better get it done from a proper agency, or like a translation service. We actually offer this service if you're interested in getting your listings translated. PPC Ninja offers this as a service, in addition to all the other stuff we do, which is PPC management and things like that. So,
Awesome. Yeah, I would definitely recommend. This seems to be a language from my own experience, which is limited. And as we learned,
yeah,
it's not as simple as, because it's really four different like styles of
yes,
language we learned. It's
yeah,
when to
exactly.
include English, when to
Yeah,
include, I don't
mm-hmm.
remember the names, but there's
Yeah,
Chinese letters, there's two
mm-hmm.
different types of Japanese letters you would add in. So that could be a lot.
Yes,
Mary
yeah,
says I should add books.
yeah.
If you learn that, then if you can make the economics work, kudos to
If you
you, because
could
that would
make
be
it
expensive
sound
to ship books to Japan. But
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where there's a will, there's a way. And
Mm-hmm.
another question being premised with, I may have missed this. We threw a lot at all of you, so give yourselves credit for retaining what you did. So if you didn't retain everything, don't feel bad if you ask a question that was covered, because I even had the context of having sold in Japan for a couple of years, and I'm still learning a lot of stuff. And I don't remember if you quizzed me on what is a katani, which I just
Yeah,
probably butchered
Katakana.
the name.
Yeah,
I'm not going to remember the
yeah,
names.
yeah.
So anyway, so there's a lot here. So this is
Mhm.
excellent information. So don't feel bad if you feel like you missed that. I'm not picking on anyone, but don't feel like you have to uh, uh, if something was already covered, no one's going to feel bad that you're asking this again. They're probably like, "Oh, I'm glad they asked that." Um, I may have missed this too, but if you have a U.S. store that you're opening in Japan and port over the reviews from the U.S., does Amazon keep the same number of reviews?
Mhm. Yeah, so this is always a tricky thing. Like this totally depends on Amazon whether they do or they don't. In theory, they should all be merged. If you have the
Mm-hmm.
same ASIN, yes, they should be merged. But we've also seen cases where we've had to kind of help our clients raise tickets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't my reviews porting over? We actually tried to do this strategy for like selling in one market first and then trying to port over, but none of those reviews ported over initially, but they ported over like randomly in the middle of the second launch and so on. So this, in theory, it should, and so you might have a good starting base there. But if it doesn't, then you have to raise tickets and then kind of push it that way. Uh,
Yeah, and on that same note too, like if you have a product that has 10 children, or
mhm.
a parent family where there's 10 children variation or 10 child variations,
Yeah,
and if you only add 3, you're only going to have the 3 that you're adding in that marketplace. The reviews carry over. So if
right.
one just doesn't make sense for Japan and it was your number one reviewed product, those reviews definitely won't carry over if you don't add it. So
Mhm.
another thing to think about too.
Right. Yeah. Here, just to answer Allison's question again,
Mm-hmm.
here I'm just sharing my screen again. So this, I remember I showed you this US based brand, yeah. And so I this one has 3,000 reviews, and I scroll down to the review section. They clearly say that this review was ported over from America. So that's
Mm-hmm.
mentioned.
Oh, that's what that says.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's mentioned here already, so people can see where the reviews are coming from, and then I can also translate them here and see what they're saying. Oh, I think they translated everything into Japanese, right? So they,
Oh, gotcha. So you
yeah,
probably
so
have to adjust the settings, which
yeah,
people can
something
play
like
with in your
yeah,
browser.
but it will clearly say whether it's coming from the US or from Japan.
Got it. So this was super helpful. So for folks who wanted maybe additional help going into Japan, or at least exploring, does my product make sense for the Japanese market? If you're selling fruit looking toilet paper, then you're probably a definite winner. But if you don't and you just want a little extra help, where would you go?
Yeah. Yeah, so happy to kind of help you guys out. Uh, you know, we don't do all aspects of Japan. Like for example, we won't. I think there's a question about like opening a store in in Japan. We won't be able to do the seller central type of things, right? We won't be reaching out to seller support on your behalf. None of that stuff. But we can help you with a few things like localization. We can help you with your PPC, your keyword research, making sure your titles, etc., are optimized for Japan, your language is optimized for Japan, and so on. We might be able to give you some advice also on whether this product is a good fit or not. We've in the past we've taken on product market fit analysis as well, based on kind of research of similar like competitors and things like that, and we might be able to help you with that also. So feel free to reach out if you have any of those kind of needs. And our email is support@ppcninja.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So I'm pretty active there. So Ritu Java, my full name, on LinkedIn. And yeah, just we can have a conversation anytime.
Got it. So email support ppcninja.com if they need additional help or just have questions about Japan. Allison, you commented that you had emailed me about something. I wasn't sure if I remember. It sounds vaguely familiar. If I missed responding to your email, I didn't mean to. So email me, hold me accountable, and say, "Hey, Kevin, please help with this." Um, More than happy to. At least if you had a question. I'm not the Japanese expert. I can certainly help folks with like Canada and UK, and I do have a variety of services for that. But if you're looking to go to Japan, you could. A lot of people DIY Canada and UK. I would. I would not in Japan. I would talk to somebody that understands Japan and Japanese culture. And here you have someone who lived there for how many years did you say at the beginning?
17 years.
Got it. So you were almost an adult Japan. Meaning your years of living there were almost
Right.
adult age of
Yes.
18, at least here in the
Yeah.
US. But I
Yeah.
don't know, I'm starting to mess up variables. They don't make sense to the actual context. But anyway, so feel free to email. And then also I had what else? Oh, I did reply. Okay, good. So hopefully it was a good reply. It sounds kind of familiar, but I get lots of questions from people, and I try to, help people with whatever questions they have. And I did promise to um, give a prize, and so I'm going to give Karen the prize for. I thought the one about customer service was the best one, so I really appreciate. I appreciate all the questions. I think they were all really good questions that folks had there at the end. So Karen, you can email me Kevin at maximizingecommerce.com. I actually have a banner for that one. And then Ryan at the beginning, you can email me as well. I'll give the same one, the PPC Mastery Summit and the Convert More Click Summit, both recent summits that Ritu is in. And if you already have those, Karen, then I'll take care of you. Either way, I'll make it good for you. All right. So with that, thank you to Ritu for sharing all this great stuff about Japan. We went a little over, and I hope my 2:00 doesn't mind. I'll email them just to let them know. I apologize, but this was good. This is super helpful information. And for those of you watching, thank you for watching, regardless of whether you joined us live or the replay. I appreciate you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we hope to see you at the next one. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone who joined. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Absolutely.